All right, there it goes. Jelly, hello. How are you?
Hi, Scott. How are you? I'm doing great.
Good, good. I'm glad I remembered to send you a reminder for tonight. Just, I
Yeah,
like when I
I
like when you
always
come
try to
around.
pop in. I've just been super busy, so I was glad I was able to make it.
Cool, cool. Yeah, we got a couple of minutes. I'm showing 7 o'clock on the nose. We'll give it a minute or two here and let some other folks come in. I did post a link into the chat to a document that I sort of asked people to look over when I announced yesterday what we were going to talk about. I've been really bad at planning ahead, and I'm trying to do things somewhat current. And I'll be quite honest with you, this document that I is like 6 days old, so it's a little behind, but there's a link if you want. If you haven't taken a look at it, folks can open it up in their browser, and it is basically talking about the Congressional Cannabis Caucus and the co-chairs urging the president to pardon federal cannabis offenses. We'll go into it in a little bit more detail in just a few minutes.
Good.
I'm going to real quick check social media, make sure somebody's not lost and trying to find their way on here. Nope, nothing that I see. Close enough, 7:02. I don't like to drag my feet because folks came and joined in on time. Everybody else can kind of get up to speed when we are, if they join us later. As always, I want to welcome the folks that are joining me now live on our Zoom meeting, and anybody who may be watching live on our YouTube channel. We are streaming this live over there. If you are watching on our YouTube channel, please know that if you are commenting, I'm not seeing the comments, and so we won't be able to answer your questions live tonight. But we will try and go back and review them later and give you an answer if it's something we can answer. Um, With that, I'd like to start by saying all of our meetings are an environment of education and awareness and are not an open market for the sale, purchase, or distribution of cannabis, and we do not encourage or condone illegal behavior of any kind. Get that out of my way there. And my name is Scott Weldon. I'm the executive director of South Carolina Normal. You can find our website at normalsc.org. Tonight we're going to be discussing, I switched screens. We're going to be discussing the letter that the Congressional Cannabis Caucus co-chairs sent to President Biden about a week ago. Suggesting or asking him to follow through on his promises from the campaign to pardon all nonviolent marijuana offenders. So if I'm not sure if y'all want me to share the screen with you, I can do that and show you what I'm kind of going to go over it piece by piece with you a little bit here if y'all don't mind. So, yeah, what the heck, I'll share it just because the technology lets me. All right. I see that screen there, this screen here. And let me just pull this down here, see what else I'm showing up top. Okay. So this was from last week, February 18th, and you'll see it says today. So last week, 37 members of Congress, led by the Congressional Cannabis Caucus, co-chairs Barbara Lee and Earl Blumenauer, including Judiciary Committee Chair Jerry Nadler, sent a letter. Here's a link to the full letter to President Biden, calling for him to issue a blanket pardon for those with federal nonviolent marijuana offenses. Now, mind you, folks, this is dealing with just federal marijuana offenses. It has nothing to do with state, local level marijuana offenses. It's my understanding the numbers are approximately 5% of marijuana arrests are federal charges. So that it's a relatively smaller portion of the population. But again, these were probably where someone may have been accused of having a larger quantity, distribution, growing, something along those lines. And again, we are looking at non-violent offenders here. Nobody was involved in violent crime. Um, so lawmakers wrote that said, but until the day that Congress sends you a marijuana reform bill to sign, we have the unique ability, or you have the unique ability to lead on criminal justice reform and provide immediate relief to thousands of Americans. I want to take that first part of it. Until they deliver to Congress a marijuana reform bill to sign, they are coming. Um, Real quick note: Monday nights on Normal's Facebook page, they do a live stream. Justin Strickle, our political director, he didn't. They're pretty much every week, unless there's a holiday or something that comes up. But he's going to he goes over each night, takes about a half hour, goes over what's going on at the federal level. Um, and as many of you know, there was the MORE Act that passed back in December. Well, the basically that is being rewritten, and the MORE Act is no more. It will have a new name. It will come out. We're thinking toward the end of March. There's also a banking act that is being worked on. The only legislation federal level that I saw so far was a reschedule bill, rescheduling from I think Schedule 1 to I don't know if it's 3 or 2, but nothing that we're going to support on that. Anyway, so the letter does continue on. During your previous tenure with the White House, President Obama understood the decades of harsh and discriminatory federal laws unfairly trapped minority individuals and communities in cycles of despair. That's why he used the tools of the justice to grant clemency to 1,927 individuals convicted of federal crimes. Most of these individuals have been convicted of drug crimes and would not have been sentenced so harshly, if at all, under today's standards. Um, a lot of states have legalized for medical. A number have moved for full legalization for adult or recreational use. Just this week, New Jersey's governor finally signed the paperwork 111 days later than when he was expected to. Anyway, so yeah, there are people in prison, in federal prison, that may have not been sentenced at all in today's climate. Um, they go on to say your administration has the power to expand on this legacy and issue a general pardon to all former federal nonviolent cannabis offenders in the U.S. and trigger resentences for all those who remain federally incarcerated on nonviolent cannabis only offenses for activity now legal under state laws. So again, it's very specific. It talks about nonviolent offenses. Um, People shouldn't be in jail for cannabis to begin with. Um, the lawmakers of the letter concluded that during the campaign you committed that you would automatically expunge all past marijuana convictions for use and possession. Now, this is a letter coming from our congressional leaders, uh, representatives, should I say, uh, calling out the president on his campaign promises. Therefore, we urge you to grant executive clemency for all nonviolent cannabis offenders. We look forward to working with you and the incoming Attorney General on quickly making this a reality. I did post a little bit earlier, shared a post a little bit earlier this week about the uh, potentially new incoming Attorney General, Merrick. Oh, I got somebody else coming to join here. Was it Merrick Garland? Is that the name? Something like that. Um, Down below here, you'll see the link again to where the full letter is if you'd like to read the entire thing. And then it gives the list of all the legislators. I believe it's 37 total that had signed this signed this letter to the president. You can read through kind of the rest of it if you like, but it does go in and it talks about Normal's position, some responses to the lawmaker's letter by our political director, Justin Streckel. Um, he goes on a bit about that. And oh, I do want to jump down to this one piece, though, that Justin was talking about, and that was that earlier this week, Normal released a petition and their own letter calling upon Americans of all political stripes to join a similar call to the president for presidential pardons. So you can find that petition here. You can find a letter that you can sign and send for for yourself here. Um, I'm going to quick open those links just because I'm curious. I'm going to open the second one here. And now just wait for my computer. Okay. So this is a letter asking the president to follow through with his commitment to expunge marijuana records, echoing what our congressional representatives have called him out for in this letter. So by clicking the button here, you can make some comments, click the button, and go through and sign the petition. The other was the actual letter. Pretty much covered most of what what we discussed, but it does go into a lot more detail. While the war on cannabis impacts individuals of all races, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, there is a little bit more. Let me go ahead and copy this link into the chat window. Oh, good. When I'm on share, how do I find the chat window? Aha, got it. And I am going to copy the link for this letter as well to y'all. All right. I'm going to quick turn off the share for a moment. Anybody have any questions or comments on that at the moment? While you're thinking about that, I do want to sort of add that just because this one letter has been sent does not mean that we don't want you to continue contacting your local congressional representatives. Yeah, I'm going to see if we can get Lindsey Graham in the Senate to go, oh, yeah, I'm going to join the Cannabis Caucus. ain't gonna happen. But it doesn't mean we won't stop asking them to. Uh, Here in my local area, there is Nancy Mace, who I'll ask. I don't know where exactly she's going to go with any of that. I doubt she'll get on board. She's not necessarily going to sign on to, I don't know. Don't want to get into her too much at the moment. But we do have 8 legislators here in South Carolina that are federal level legislators. I believe it's 8 total. The one that I do like to mention is our House Majority Whip Clyburn. And of course, Jim Clyburn. Thank you very much. I was blanking on his first name there. And what's important with Jim is actually the next community over from mine. So like I say, he represents the next district over. Um, but he is the House Majority Whip. What the whip job for the most part is to do is to um, I'm going to say rally the troops, whip them into line, something along those lines. We did send him a letter as the MORE Act was coming up for a vote back in December, asking him to sign on to the Cannabis Caucus, sign on as a co-sponsor to the MORE Act, and to, as the majority whip, rally the troops in behind this Democratic issue for the most part, or one of their priority issues in that party. Um, so I don't necessarily care what district in South Carolina that you live in. It can't hurt to write to Jim Clyburn just as being our uh, congressional whip in the House, and kind of remind him that it's kind of what he needs to do or is supposed to do is to rally the troops behind the issues at hand. Um, I'd like to see him sign on to the Cannabis Caucus. We do not have a single South Carolina congressional representative that signed that letter, let alone that it's a member of the Cannabis Caucus. Um, I thought we had a chance when Joe Cunningham was here. I pestered him a number of times about it, especially because he was on a Veterans Affairs Committee or some sort of a Veterans Committee, and I thought he would want to support cannabis for veterans. And although I think he verbalized it, he didn't really follow through and sign on um, to the caucus. Although he did vote for the MORE Act, so there's that. And I believe Clyburn did as well. But that is what I'd ask you to do. You can also write to our other state or federal level legislators. I'm going to pull up a real quick list of who they all are. I used to have a list of them sort of sitting on the wall behind me. All right. In our Senate side, just so y'all know, it's Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott. Um, on our House side, that's where the other 6 are. We have, I'm sorry, I'm seeing 7 here. No picture of Nancy. Um, Nancy Mace, Joe Wilson, Joe Duncan. I'm going to share screen with you again just so you can see what I'm talking about. This site here, govtrack.us. This is our congressional members. Right now, I'm showing our representatives, and I can click the little senators button, which is where I was a moment ago. So we have our senators here, Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott. Real slim chance. I don't think that any of them would sign on. I don't understand. Sometimes I wish Tim Scott, with his background, would open up his mind a little bit more and understand that he should really be backing this legislation and decriminalization. And anyway, on the representative side, We have, but I feel like I'm announcing a boxing match. On this side, we have Nancy Maestro, Wilson, Jeff Duncan, William Timmons, Ralph Norman, Jim Clyburn, and Tom Rice. To be quite honest with you, I think the only one we may be able to get a shot at for signing on would be Tom Rice. Although I think the Republicans aren't real happy. Nancy Mace did mention support on medical. Um, so again, there's two plus Clyburn that we may be able to target. I don't. For some reason, I want to say Ralph Norman has given some indication of support, but I don't have the vote.normal.org smoke the vote guide open in front of me at the moment, and that would probably give me a little more information. Um, but that doesn't, even though the letters has already gone out, that doesn't mean to stop contacting your federal level representatives, both on the House and the Senate side. If you're not sure who yours is, let's see, this will probably give me a neat little map. Oh, painfully slow machine. All right, I'm not going to worry about that. Um, the easiest way, really, to find your representatives is go to scstatehouse.gov. I'm going to slide this down a little so I can see my tabs up at the top. Um, all right, I'm going to backtrack here real quick. If you go to the homepage of scstatehouse.gov, right here, find your legislators, put in your address, city, zip, click the button. You will find should be 5 legislators um, on the list. You'll be your federal and your state legislators on that list, just so you know. And there should then be links on how to contact them through there. With that said, I do want to touch a little bit on South Carolina, what's going on here in South Carolina right now. Um, so before I do, I'm going to just turn off the share so I can kind of real quick see my chat screen or window here. If anybody has any questions or comments on the Cannabis Caucus that I might be, uh-oh, can you hear me now? I think I did something with my mic.
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay, okay. I just got a whole bunch of messages flash at me on my screen. I'm like, what did I do? Okay, thank you. Um, I always seem to have trouble with my mic on this thing. I bump a button on the wire. If there's no other questions on the Cannabis Caucus at the moment, like I said, it can't hurt to continually contact your legislators, ask them to sign on and support. Give them all your reasons. Be polite. Um, that kind of stuff. But what I do want to do briefly now is talk a little bit about what's going on in South Carolina with or what's not going on in South Carolina with the medical marijuana bills that they're the only ones that have traction is the Compassionate Care Act. They are Republican sponsored bill both in the House and the Senate. Senate Bill S-150, House Bill, oh, better click it here. Uh, that wasn't the right one. 3361. There we go. Okay. Um, I saw a post, I want to say yesterday. Um, Pretty sure it was yesterday. It appears that the Compassionate Carolina, South Carolina Compassionate Carolina Alliance, boy, that didn't come out well. South Carolina Compassionate Care Alliance and Compassionate South Carolina teamed up to have a survey done. It looked like a 3-day phone survey done by a survey company, and popped up with their results of South Carolinians and how many support medical cannabis in South Carolina. I believe their number was in the 70 percentile range. Um, and I happen to see Senator Tom Davis share that same um, article or post. So I went and I made a comment on the post, on Senator's post, saying, when is S-150 going to be on schedule? And the response came back from Jill Swing, who's the director at the South Carolina Compassionate Care Alliance, saying that she believes it's going to be on schedule um, mid to late March, were I believe the word she used. Now, originally, when I saw an interview with Tom Davis in January, he expected it to get out of subcommittee and into committee pretty quickly, and then have the committee hearing in early February. Well, early February is kind of here and gone, and now they hear that it's been bumped to mid or late March. Getting closer and closer to the switchover date in April. Um, they're finding the dumbest stuff to move forward on instead of this. Anyway, that brings up this topic. Is right now S130, I'm sorry, S150. If I can find it here, is what is the other one? There we go. S150 is in the Senate Medical Affairs Committee, has been there since um, the 12th. Basically, the 12th is the first day of the session when they got there. They pre-filed it in December, but basically it was introduced on the first day of session, and there it has sat now for a month and almost a half. So, who's the Medical Affairs Senate Medical Affairs Committee? That is these folks here. Up, geez, I turned off my share again, didn't I? And all I'm thinking I'm sharing. Sharing is caring, dude. Matter of fact, that's what my shirt says tonight. Let's see if I can show it to you real quick. Sharing is caring. There we go. All righty, sorry about that. So what I had done is I clicked over to S150, and you can see down here when you find that at the State House page where that bill is and what happened. So it was pre-filed in December. Session started on the 12th. It was introduced and first read on the 12th, and then basically immediately referred to the Committee on Medical Affairs. Who was the Committee on Medical Affairs? These are state level legislators that are the Senate Medical Affairs Committee. Each one of these does have a link to these representatives. Again, unfortunately, one of mine is Sandy Sen. She is on the Medical Affairs Committee. She has, for the most part, until just before the elections. Generally, she says she's against it until, or has told me through email, whatever, that she was against it until the FDA would approve it. To me, that's a cop out because the FDA can't approve unless research is done. Research can't be done until the DEA allows it or until they take control away from the DEA. And anyway, my suggestion to any of you that are supporting the medical bill in South Carolina that it's in the Senate right now, S150, is to contact first off the chairman, Daniel B. Danny Verdon III. You can click on the link. I got so many tabs up here, I don't know what's going to happen. Things will blow up. And again, you'll find the contact information where you can send a letter. You can call their office, leave a message if they're not in at the moment, that kind of thing. And here's a link to send them a message, basically an email. You can go through and do that with each and every one of them if you like. It doesn't hurt. This is also going to be one of my new projects with the emerging clinical applications book that we have kind of in stock here at our office. We've got a bunch of them. My first batch is going out um, to probably going to be going out to these legislators here. I sent some out locally to my personal, my own legislators. Um, but yeah, these are going to probably be the next list. The other bill, and we've talked about it a couple times here before, is H3361. Where is H3361? That is in the House Committee on Medical, Military, Public, and Municipal Affairs, what they call the 3M Committee. And that committee, here's the in the House, uh, Leon Howard, their chairman, and again, here are all the committee members in that on that committee. What you would want to do on both of these or either of these is if you're contacting the House Medical Affairs Committee or House 3M Committee, you want to push H3361. Make sure I get that number right. 3361. That is Herb Kurzman's sponsored bill. You can see we are adding new sponsors on as we speak. Interestingly, with this one, it was introduced, pre filed back in December, formally introduced and read in the as the session opened. And then you can see one, two, three, four, it looks like five. Actually, here's a few of them. Kimmons, Wetmore, woohoo! 24th. That was today. I've been contacting Spencer Wetmore because she's kind of one of my local representatives. She did just get one of the books that I was talking about. I believe tracking showed she received it yesterday. And I think we moved her a little bit to, I mean, she said she would. I think it took a second reminder. Then here she is signed on to the House version of that bill. So it pays to contact your legislators and tell them that you support them. If they don't know, if you don't tell them, they won't know. Matter of fact, that was a good response. I saw Jill Swing give to somebody on one of their comments. Why aren't our legislators doing what we want? What the citizens of South Carolina want, and it's really is like, have you been contacting them personally? I mean, contacting them. Do they know the way you feel? They might see the polls, but they kind of just shrug them off. But if their constituents are calling them and reminding them, I'm a constituent, I vote in your community, in your district, they may be a little bit more willing to listen to a constituent in their district than if I were just to sort of email them or call them or send them a letter or whatever the case may be. Um, so I'm going to backtrack here just a little bit. Your House 3M Committee, Medical, Military, Public, and Municipal Affairs Committee. Um, if anybody wants me to put these in the links in the chat, let me know. I'm going to open the chat again, see if I'm seeing any comments. Nope. Um, and secondarily is the Senate Medical Affairs Committee. Um, urge, especially the chairperson, because that's the person who makes the decision on which bills move forward, which ones don't, which ones get a hearing, which ones get a vote. But also to contact all of the members on those committees, especially the chair, but all those members on those committees, urging them to um, move these bills forward and to support them. Um, bring it once we get it out of committee, then we've got to urge all of the legislators in the Senate and or the House to vote it, to vote for it. If it passes that, it goes to the other portion of the legislature, um, and the process kind of starts again in that section. So I did sort of divert a little bit from just talking about the Cannabis Caucus and the pardons at the federal level, but I just kind of felt I wanted to do an update on what's going on with South Carolina's medical right now. As far as any other South Carolina legislation, I don't I haven't heard of anything else moving forward. There is a bill 3H3228 is a decrim bill sponsored by Henderson Mayors, has about 30 co-sponsors. That would be the one I would suggest we try and push because it does have some um, activity behind it. I'm going to kind of go back to the homepage here and pull that one up. What did I say? 3228. There we go. I know I'm not screen sharing, so bear with me just a moment. Again, that was pre-filed in December, referred to Committee on the Judiciary in December, which is kind of odd, and then officially read in for the first time on the 12th and referred to Committee on Judiciary on the 12th. House Journal, page 112. But that one has a, like I say, a pretty good support. Although all of the decrim bills, I believe this one as well, Henderson Mayors, yeah, I looked into that person a little while ago, are all democratically sponsored. Unfortunately, in South Carolina, with both Republican-controlled House and Senate, I don't really see democratically sponsored legislation moving anywhere and having any chance of success at this point. Um, would love to have a House and a Senate decrim bill sponsored by Republicans at this time because again, it may move. It may have some opportunity to move forward. I just don't see any of our um, Republican legislators in South Carolina sponsoring any of those bills. To be quite honest with you, even Tom Davis, uh, who's the sponsor of the S-150, has been very, very clear that he wants a very bright line between medical and recreational. And he would feel, I'm sure, too, that a decrim bill is nothing more than another stepping stone toward legalization of recreational use. So I don't even think he would co-sponsor or sponsor something like that in the future. Um, he's all about the medical access at that point, at this point, and as many of you, if you know this bill, he's even admitted it himself. It is the most restrictive bill in the nation. It will be the most restrictive medical legislation in the nation. Um, so anyway, um, that'd be another one though I'd love to see happen. Decrim for simple possession here in South Carolina, especially since SLED law enforcement, not SLED per se, but law enforcement has basically doubled their number of arrests for simple possession from about 15,800 or so in 2016 to over 34,000 in 2018. I have not yet seen 2019 numbers come out yet. I think they're available, but I have not seen them. Um, so, all right. Any questions on any of the stuff we talked about, especially the pardon letter or anything in general? All right. Well, that's kind of all I have for this evening then.
I'm sorry, I have a question. I was trying to mess with my mic there.
Okay.
Just I haven't read all of the language of the Senator Tom or whatever his bill, but I know it's real restrictive. But does it have that bright line thing? Does it have some stuff in there that's kind of restrictive towards the future of that? So like it would be better to pass on that and push towards the decrim bill. Is that kind of what I'm hearing you say?
No, what I'm saying is I don't think the decrim bill, because it's just democratically sponsored here in South Carolina, really has much of a chance of going anywhere. We have 30 Democrats who have signed on. I'm assuming they're all Democrats. I'd have to go and look, but just from scanning over the names that are in front of me here, I'm pretty sure they're all Democrats. And it is a Republican-controlled House that even if they got this bill to move out of committee and get to the House floor for a vote. Being a democratically sponsored and backed bill, I don't see any Republicans really jumping on board and saying, hey, yeah, let's help decrim South Carolina. And then being the majority, we would have to get some to vote. I don't know what the number would be. It might be a small number, but we'd still need to get some. So no, I've heard some. I've asked them up at National to sort of reread over the S-150 bill because that's the more restrictive one. Because I've heard a couple of people mention that there is some language restricting moving forward with recreational in the future in this bill. I didn't see it when I read it over the first time, but that's the only time I read the bill. I try to leave it to some folks that are better at reading these things and understanding them than I am, and sort of fill me in on the gaps. But that is something I want to follow up on this week as I get in touch with National. Actually, I think I'll send out an email first thing tomorrow, just to see if that's been reviewed. Because if that be the case, then no, we don't even want to push this medical bill because it would kind of causes problems down the road with trying to move forward with decrim and that type of stuff. So
Okay, that clears it up. So you might be kind of speaking on that next week or so in the coming weeks, whether or not Normal will officially, support or say, or say no, we don't want that.
well, Normal and national level, the one we support is the Democratic bill, which includes both smokable product and home grow. But again, it's a democratically backed bill. It really has no chance of moving forward here in South Carolina. And so we have to depend on the Republican backed bills. That's why I want to just clarify that language in there, and make sure it's not hampering us in the future. Because to be quite honest with you, they've been working on trying to get medical here, and it looks like it may have a shot this session. Um, and I want to support. I want to support moving forward, but I don't want to support moving forward if it's going to be shooting ourselves in the foot in the long run. So
Yeah, I'm hearing it's going to pass. That's what everybody's saying. They think it's going to pass.
Yeah. So I will follow up with that, and I'll kind of keep it posted what I find out. Probably next week, I should have some information on that. But thank you for your question. I do appreciate that. All righty. Well, then I think I'm going to call it a wrap for the evening. I want to thank everybody that has joined me tonight. Remember that if you need to contact me, you can reach us through our website, normalsc.org. I spend probably a little bit too much time on our South Carolina Normal Facebook page. We do post to Instagram and Twitter, although I check on it. I don't spend as much time there. Don't forget, if you miss some of our other conversations, you can find them on our YouTube channel. Besides that, I want to again thank you for joining us tonight. We will see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. For the South Carolina Cannabis Conversation. Have a great night now. Bye-bye.